Schools.
It's
Board.
free. It's free.
Here.
It's fine.
Here.
It's really
Yes.
good. Yeah.
Yes.
All present.
Okay. We can take a moment of silence. Pledge of allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Meet arm. Meet Navy.
Okay, so our informational item is going to be the interviews for District 5 candidates. And we're going to allow, say, 3 to 4 minutes to introduce yourself. Ms. Mendez, Richie, we're going to start with you. There may be some time crunch with your login, so we're going to start with you first. I think it has a 45-minute limit. It may end at what time, Blake?
40 minutes, so it should be 6:20, 6:25.
6:20. 6:20 is be the limit of you being on, but we maybe get through the meeting by then, I hope. But I'm going to let you, Ms. Mendez, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Okay, so if you could just start with an introduction, then we're going to have about 5 different questions that each board member will ask you questions that you can respond to.
Very well. So, my name is Anna Maria Mendez. I am married to Bruce William Ritchie from Criders. And I've spent most of my life as what I would call military dependent. So that's those 30 years of my life first as a military daughter and then a Navy wife. Definitely pro the Constitution and everything that stands for, that adheres to the way I grew up. I'm originally from Isabela, Puerto Rico, where I spent most of my life. I did go to public school, but I also went to Catholic school. And one of the experiences that I have, not just through my education in Puerto Rico, but also my education through the Department of Defense, which are, I consider, some of the greatest schools that the government offers to military members and their dependents. That schooling not only created a love for education, but when you have the example of great teachers and great administrations in schools, you have no choice but to love it. I mean, obviously some people don't fall in that, and what I believe is that sometimes what you believe as far as your education is concerned, it's based on how your parents feel also about your education.
Okay, thank
Should
you.
I
Thank you. Bill?
Yes. Good afternoon or good morning.
Yeah, morning.
Good morning there. So my question for you is, what motivates you to serve on the Page County School Board, and how do you believe your background prepares you to best represent the citizens of District 5?
Technically, I was basically raised in a political family in Puerto Rico. My grandfather was the mayor of my town. My father ran for mayor of my town, and some of the kinfolks that I have in my family were senators and people of service. One of the things I learned is that you are a servant of the people when you're elected into a position, and that stuck with me. The fact that my father carried me around in political rallies and we supported each other in that sense gave me an idea that I either had the option to become in the realm of politics or in the realm of baking, because in my mother's side of the family, there were bakers. So I kind of like politics more. I have run for office. I believe this may be my fourth or fifth time. I have run for a school board before. And I believe that as I said, I'm really enchanted with the fact that people have the motivation to get educated. One of the things I see in our structure in America is that somehow education is not held in the position that it should be. We have 15 agencies and the Department of Education falls last, and then it's not given very much importance. In fact, defunding comes into play, and to me it's like, should be number one, because this nation, or any nation for that matter, would benefit for how they educate and prepare their citizens for the future. And in order for us to become a great nation, we should have brilliance in every citizen that there is, regardless of their backgrounds. We all know that we all have a position in life, and I guess that being in a good educational system would definitely prepare us for bringing out the skills that each citizen has. So I believe in service for obviously the educational system, but also in service where I have run for different positions before. So I understand what it takes to be a representative of the people, which is what I would like to do. And in the case of Page County, I'm obviously a representative of the children, and make sure that we are able to provide that pathway for them to grow. And you can only do it through service. So by the time that it's my time to leave the planet, I think that I'd like to look back and say, hey, I made a difference. And if making a difference for the people that are going to be our future, you couldn't have it better than that.
Okay, but can you elaborate on what qualifies you though, and what motivates a little bit more as to what you've done to serve on a board?
Well, the fact, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Finish. No, I was going to say the fact that I'm willing to stand up to the plate and for something I believe in. Sometimes, obviously, standing up to the plate for things you believe in may not be perceived in the same manner for every individual, because I know that too many people will sit at home and just bother with their daily activities, which may include sports for their children, their likes and dislikes, and just ignore what's going on in the world that affects us, because people don't realize that everything in politics affects us. I think all politics is local, but if you're too busy doing other things, well, obviously that just says that you're complacent to whatever's going on, whether it's negative or positive. You're complacent to what's going on. The fact that I'm not willing to sit around and be complacent, I think makes me different, because of the fact that, all of you sitting right there, every single one of you decided that you needed to do something of service that would improve the community, in our case, Page County, and in my case, Shenandoah. So obviously, we all have the same interests at heart.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Hello. My question is, school boards must balance student needs, fiscal responsibility, and community expectations. How would you approach making difficult decisions when these priorities conflict?
Well, first of all, I believe that joining your group as a team player, because I don't believe a board member is there to do the job of the superintendent. But definitely, we have to be able to help out making strategic decisions that will constitute the planning of the future of our schools. In my case, the school of Shenandoah, but also knowing that just because I would represent District 5 doesn't mean that it's only District 5, because all of you sit there and make motions and take a vote on what's going to be effective to the community, in your case, in each district. But overall, the whole county, where it affects every single school. I believe we have 9 schools or 9 buildings that we have to care about. So basically, as I said, I'm not there to substitute for the superintendent, but actually to help out and create whatever strategic decisions that have to be made. And sometimes some of them are made with our hands tied, when, for example, when it comes to funding. But sometimes there's things that we can do that perhaps can lead us to bringing a better community or a better service to our community, especially for the children of these schools and the parents and the teachers. It's all important.
I agree with what you said, but the question was, how do you balance the students' needs with the financial responsibility and the community expectations?
Well, as I said, you're kind of sometimes stuck with whatever you have. I mean, personally, if it was up to me, we would have a new school in Shenandoah. In my mind, I decided that it should be over where the pharmacy used to be, and there should be enough room to create a school system. But the reality is the funding there, is the money there, and making parents understand and family and community understand that although we want these great things for our school system, sometimes we're bounded by the reality of what the funding is. However, that making it clear to them that, hey, we have your best interest at heart, doesn't mean that I can snap my finger and there we have a brand new school that's very much needed because of the facilities that we have. So it's just a matter of maybe sometimes one-on-one, or perhaps the duties that all of you hold in the position that you have is going to be based on the fact that we do understand that we may have some strict guidance of the things we want to do, because I'm sure that if all of us could have whatever we wanted, we would have brand new schools, not just in District 5, but we would improve in any way we could, based on the fact that would definitely not be reality, but doesn't mean that we wouldn't want it. But making people understand that we have constraints of what is happening as far as funding, as far as, things that will improve the county, is basically we have our tools and we have to work with those tools.
Thank you.
Hopefully they'll understand.
How do you define the role of a school board member in relation to administrators, teachers, parents, and the public?
Repeat that, please.
Yes, ma'am. How do you define the role of a school board member in relation to administrators, teachers, parents, and the public?
We definitely need to be able to work with all of these fractions of school board staffing, like for example, to me, staffing is important because if we have great teachers in place, we have great administrators in place, though they may be lacking certain abilities to put what they want forward, doesn't mean that at heart that they don't have the best interest. Therefore, we need to be able to communicate not just to the families, the student body, and the teachers and administrators that we're there for them, and that whenever they bring up a suggestion or a challenge, that we're willing to listen and do as much as we can. At least I would try to do as much as I can to relieve the situation that they feel is of utmost importance to them. So obviously the importance of things that a student body has as compared to the parents of those students, as compared to our administrators, obviously letting them know that, okay, what you just said is important, we have to work at it, therefore, within the realm of the things, of the situations that I have, I can definitely say, okay, this is what the school board has to adhere to. That doesn't mean that your whatever you're bringing up is not important. So that communication, and like I said, keeping these teachers and staff that need to be kept working together to make sure that we have great teachers for the purpose of having eventually a great student body. And I think that Page County actually does, even though it's not something that we bring to the forefront every day. We don't have to be tooting our own horn, but it is important that you can see those things happening and that you know at least something is going right and or it's moving forward in the right direction.
What do you see as the most pressing challenges facing Page County Public Schools, and what are the principles? What principles would guide your response to those challenges?
I believe, like I said, I actually believe that Page County has been doing a great job as far as the students are concerned. Everything could use improvement. The greatest challenges, I would say, perhaps we need to renovate new facilities, but then again, we have the constraint of what the budget shortfalls or whatever's there for you to work with. The teacher retention is, I think, really important because as a former teacher in California, Puerto Rico, and Florida, I had the privilege of meeting teachers that I thought were superb, and I thought, wow, it's this person gets through to the student in a way that I would hope every teacher does. However, then we don't justify their salaries, we don't justify their work conditions, and to me it's like, oh, we really need to put an importance on that. And when an administrator or principal talks to the board, and obviously as a board member, I don't have the ultimate decision. Like I said, I'm not there to replace the superintendent, but it is important that we do listen, each one of us, in providing the service that these administrators need. So sometimes a very important challenge comes up and you say, oh yeah, you're 100% spot on. However, this is what we have. And then I think that most administrators, knowing that, school principals, knowing that what the challenges are for the whole county, they're going to be understanding. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't say, well, the student population is too high, I don't have enough classrooms, there's a problem and we need to do something better. Well, yeah, we know those challenges exist. And that doesn't mean we're gonna fix it overnight, but it can be fixed. And I believe every single principal, teacher, and sometimes even the parents understand what the school board is faced with, and the fact that we may take to heart what you just said and what the needs are, but that doesn't mean that we're going to fix it overnight.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Describe a time when you had to work with people who strongly disagreed with you. How did you handle the situation,
Yeah.
and what did you learn that would help you serve
Go
effectively?
ahead, I'm sorry.
I said, how did you handle the situation, and what did you learn that would help you serve effectively on this board?
Well, first of all, you need to know whatever their what they think is important, that you have to adhere to the fact that you acknowledge how important it is. Now, challenges, well, I used to be a union organizer, and the way I felt about it is, hey, if you tell me to go organize that KKK group to form a union, well, guess what? Maybe I don't believe in those concepts, but my job would be to get together with them and make what they feel is important happen, whether I agree or disagree. And so I ran into a lot of that because getting people together to realize that their ideas have meaning that can in the long run be helpful to a group is not necessarily easy when you have people that think another way. So technically, the way I felt is like you come into these challenges, you acknowledge the fact that their point is important, and you try to, basically go with the flow, because of the fact that sometimes we get to find out that we agree on more things than we actually disagree on. And if we have a common goal, then working together to achieve that common goal is important.
Okay, thank you. Just one last thing. Is there anything that may disqualify you to serve on the school board?
Well, I can't think of one other than the fact that somebody may not like my personality, which I don't think is
Yeah, that's
it's my personality. However, I used to work for the Navy, and through the Navy, I had to have clearance. And when I worked in the area in Florida, through Florida, I had to actually pay before even getting the job for my own check and through the FBI and whatnot. And to me, it's like, well, knowing the fact that while I served as a civilian in the Navy, that I was in charge of very important confidential things, obviously somebody trusts me. I know that the Navy also did a background check on me, that especially since I lived outside of the United States for many years, the fact that they had to go into my background and find out whether I qualified as somebody that's dignified of having a position, and my integrity is intact. I mean, my growing up as a military dependent for 30 years of my life, being in charge of things like, I used to belong to the Republican Party, and I was given a lot of tasks there where I would have to make sure that everything was correct. Also, I got a presidential nomination from Jeb Bush to become part of the Selective Service Board if we ever go into a draft. I think there's a lot of things that are very positive in my background. And like I said, my integrity is intact, so I make sure that that stays like that, because I really don't have anything else. I'm not a rich woman. The only thing I can take with me is my integrity, and that's never gonna change.
Thank you so much. This will end your portion of the interviews. Mr. Thomas, you're ready to
Sorry to
get.
So, I think sorry when
Okay, so you're only going to have 6 minutes on the meeting left, and then it'll probably kick out, I got a feeling, because of the program and logging in on certain times. But Mr. Thomas?
All right, so I guess I'll start the same way, just give you a brief overview of myself. So I'm Britt Thomas. I'm married with 2 kids. Got a lot of hobbies, most of which are sports related. Baseball is one of them. Enjoy coaching baseball. I actually serve on the Hazeltown Babe Ruth board. When I'm at work, I'm a member of the management team at Lakeside Book Company. You guys would formerly know that as probably R. Donnelly for the folks that have been around for a minute. And there, as part of the management team, you know, we've got some of the same challenges I see with the aging infrastructure in Page County and the schools, and dealing with that within our home buildings and making decisions around those types of things. So I've moved up there. Before that, I was at Dynamic Aviation for several years, 15 to be exact, and led the maintenance department there on aircraft both deployed worldwide and here in the valley. So that was an awesome journey that I went through there. So that's a little bit about me.
Thank you.
So, good afternoon. So my question is, what motivates you to serve on the Page County School Board, and how do you believe that your background prepares you to represent the citizens of District 5?
So to answer the first question, I enjoy giving back. I think that giving back to the community is one of the things that I've been trying to do more of, not only by serving on the Hazeltown board. I serve on the board of the Blue Ridge Safety Association as well, and we're able to give, you know, nice advice to our members, ensuring that they're being served well in the realm of safety or consultation, or just folks that generally reach out with a question that they can't solve. But being able to take that and give that back to the community in the form of the kids, I think is a great prospect, and thank you guys all for doing that as well. As far as the second part of your question, what qualifies me is just my servant leadership style, and the way that I tend to be a listener before I speak. Practicing the whole concept of active listening and understanding something before actually digging fully into it. And I think that's been a lot of what I've learned around my leadership journey, has been just making sure that you understand before you speak, because you only have one opportunity to let it out. But once it's out there, it's gone.
Okay. Good, thank you.
All right. School boards must balance student needs, fiscal responsibility, and community expectations. How would you approach making difficult decisions when these priorities conflict?
So I think it really comes down to forming the consensus of what are our missions, what's our values, and then prioritizing based upon that. If the priority is the students, then for this particular instance, then we go and we make decisions that revolve around the student. Priority is aging infrastructure, then that's where we focus our energy, and we go after that instead of going down 15 or 20 different rabbit trails. Focus on the mission that's in front of us, and we all have input and decide as a board. And I'm big into ownership. So a lot of the decisions that are made in here are decisions that, you know, even if I disagreed, we'll be a united front on those decisions, because I think that that's important in leadership.
But the question goes, I think, a little bit further when it says how you approach making difficult decisions when these priorities conflict. In other words, you can say, well, this building is the priority. And you've got problems in the other area, like fiscal.
Mhm.
So how do you on those out? How do you?
Well, again, there's always going to be one that trumps another, right? And that's where we decide as a group which is the most important for us to tackle, and then that's the problem that we get at.
Okay, thank you.
How do you define the role of a school board member in relation to administrators, teachers, parents, and the public?
A servant leader. So I'm here to help support, and that support comes in various different forms, whether it's acting in the capacity of a board member, whether it's stepping up and knowing that there might be a shortage at a concession stand at a football game and they need somebody to step up and serve there. I think that's how I view our role in the community, is not just to be somebody that solves problems here silently and not a member of the community as well. So being an active member of the community, again, listening to concerns that we might be able to act on, and concerns that we might not be able to act on, and just putting all of that into the service.
Me again. What do you see as the most pressing challenges facing Page County Public Schools, and what principles would guide your response to those challenges?
I think probably the most pressing would be the aging infrastructure around the county, and I think how you address those is it obviously has to be a priority. You can't fix everything at once. So is there a particular thing that is eating our lunch, as you might say? And what's also important when it comes to the students? Is it an air handler that's failing? If so, all right, what are we going to do about that? Does that pose a safety risk in the fall or the summertime to the students? And is that something that we need to prioritize over maybe a pothole in a parking lot that a teacher might be complaining about? So I think to me, I think the largest challenge right now is the aging.
Describe a time when you had to work with people who strongly disagreed with you.
Mm-hmm.
How did you handle that situation? And what did you learn that would help you serve effectively on this?
So I think going towards what Anna said, we all have more in common than what we know. And it's understanding each person and individual and saying what's important to Mr. Breeden might not necessarily be what's important to Mr. Overfeld, right? Mr. Breeden may thrive on data. So the way that I may need to influence Mr. Breeden is come to him with the data in hand and say, hey, here's why I believe what I'm telling you. What is the data telling you? And see if we can't meet in some common area. And as a member of the management team, at work, we have those spirited conversations a lot amongst ourselves about how do we solve a problem, and what influences Mr. Breeden is different than what influences Mr. Overfeld. So understanding each individual and how triggers how I approach them.
Okay. Just last question. Is there anything that would disqualify you from serving or taking the oath?
I would be surprised if there was.
Okay.
Can I ask
Yes, go ahead.
follow up? In Jason's question, I got your answer, but I didn't hear you talk to what principles that you would apply. That's one of the things I wanted you to. What are the principles that would guide you in your response to challenges?
So I think it's the weighing of student safety, teacher safety. You've got the challenges less so of, the community, how the community feels about it. But again, I think we're here for the teachers and we're here for the students. And so really, I think for me, safety is the paramount thing. It's what I do every single day. So weighing that into the decision process, that would be my principle would be, are we making decisions that are making students safer, making teachers safer, protecting our core values and what we believe in as a board.
Thanks. Thanks for the clarification.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mr. Queen, as the other candidates that have been interviewed today, just give you some time to introduce yourself.
My name is Charlie Queen, resident of Page County for 53 years and Shenandoah for 48. Been married for 53 years. And I had a minister one time tell me, you wouldn't get that much time for murder. But I had contemplated that.
Still worried. Okay. Okay.
My background is I have a bachelor's degree of French, in French from Bridgewater College. Unfortunately, I understand now that French is not even offered in Page County. I consider that a real sad event, since we have a native speaker that is presently at Ray High School. I've had many opportunities to use my French. In fact, last night, my son Matthew called and said his French customer needed a ride to Dulles. I gave him a ride to Front Royal, and he thought I might know 2-3 words in French, and he was sort of surprised. We had an hour conversation entirely in French. It was quite a good experience. But I did have a chance would have had a chance actually to use my French right out of high school. I went and interviewed for the Army, and when they found out that I had 5 years of French in high school, in 1969, the recruiter's eyes lit up like a pinball machine. Fortunately, my dad talked me out of it. It wasn't until 20 years later I connected French and Vietnam at that time. So fortunately, my dad prevailed, and I did go to Bridgewater. Let's see. The bulk of my professional career was spent at Merck for 20 years, and fortunately, I had the opportunity. My management style was MBAW, management by walking around, and I was able to leave my office, go out in the factory, watch things run, and just by watching things run, 1 year I turned in $250,000 worth of approved process improvements just by watching. And the engineers, they were up in their office, playing with their computer while I was down watching the line run. My objective was to make it better, make it fast, and I obviously accomplished that. Let's see, anything else? I'm on the finance committee at our church. Last year, our budget, we came in at 99.75% of actual expenses versus projected, and our income was 104% of projection. So not that I've had a whole lot to do with that. God had a whole lot to do with that, actually. But I've had the pleasure of working with the finance committee in that respect. Let's see. I think that's about it.
All right, thank you, sir.
Okay. So, good evening. I think it's evening now. All right. After
Yes.
6. What motivates you to serve on the Page County School Board? And how do you believe that your background prepares you to represent the citizens of District 5?
Okay. The main thing that motivates me is we had 5 kids that were proud graduates of Page County High School. My oldest daughter is now director of compliance on Wall Street for a bank. My number 2 son manages an international team for Lenovo computers. Number 3 kid is at Augusta Medical, where he got Biomed Tech of the Year last year for the state of Virginia. My daughter Bonnie was Phi Beta Kappa at William and Mary, and she administers Medicaid for the state of North Carolina. And my last one, my son, is a successful entrepreneur. He has a business at the airport and is on the board at the Tech Center. So I'm motivated to give back to the school system what the school system gave to my kids and my wife. She was employed for 20 years teaching both French and Spanish. So that's my main motivation. It's just to return to the school system what they've given us over the years.
And then the second part, how does your background prepare you?
Okay, again, like I said, my philosophy is management by walking around. And I think that's the school board member's responsibility too, is to get out of his home and go into the community, go into the schools and see what's going on. What are the true needs of the students? What are the true needs of the teachers, the administrators, and bring that back as a voice, an advocate for those different customers.
Okay. Thanks.
All right. Hey, Charlie.
All right.
School boards must balance student needs, fiscal responsibility, and community expectations. How would you approach making difficult decisions when these priorities conflict?
I think the main thing is communication. Sometimes the community has an expectation that is not really grounded in reality. The main thing, I think, the school system exists to produce a productive citizen, and so I would say to that the students' needs come first. Sometimes, again, the balancing act is somewhat difficult, but we're all here to support the students, and like I say, I think the students' needs come first. Did that answer your question?
Well, when the student needs conflict with budget, how do you resolve that conflict?
Again, I think it's probably communication, meeting with both the student community and assessing the financial needs. See which ones would require dollars, and which ones would just require some sort of non-monetary support.
Okay, thank you.
How do you define the role of a school board member in relation to administrators, teachers, parents, and the public?
I think the school board really sets the policy. The administration obviously runs the school system, and the school board provides guidance. Did that answer your question? I'm sorry. Or do you need more clarification?
No, sir. I mean, if that's how, you're viewing the school board member, in relation to administrators, teachers, parents.
Yeah, I think the school board sets the policy, but the administrator, the superintendent, he's the one that runs the school system. So I think the school board is more policy making, and the administrator, the superintendent, really runs the day-to-day operation, not the school.
I swear I'm going to get this question right. What do you see as the most pressing challenges facing Page County Public Schools, and what principles would guide your response to those challenges?
Again, like Mr. Thomas indicated, I think the infrastructure is the biggest need right now. I think what we have to look at is how we, do we have, how we would approach the schools. I mean, we've got 3 schools. We've got Springfield, we've got Shenandoah, Luray Middle School is where my wife started out teaching there, so that was back, in the 50s. Not she was in the 50s, but the school probably was there in the 50s, so it's a good 75 years old as well. How we would balance spread, if we would have to consolidate, for example, Shenandoah Elementary, could that be absorbed into Luray? I'm sorry, into Page Middle, that population. So that we'd have to look at the student load, the teacher load, and to see if we can consolidate without having to build a new school. I think that would be definitely preferable if that could be accomplished. Same thing with Springfield. That can those students be absorbed into say, for example, Luray Elementary and then into Luray Middle as well. One benefit of doing such a thing would be the transportation needs would go way down because they would only be servicing one school versus elementary school and then the middle school and high school. So I think that would be a real benefit to doing.
Okay, describe a time when you had to work with people who strongly disagreed with you. How did you handle the situation, and what did you learn that would help you serve effectively on this board?
Yeah, I had a situation again at Merck. One of the technical engineers for years. We had a thermoformer. We were purchasing trays of 8 different colors, and if anybody knows anything about plastic, when we were going to go to our own thermoformer to run different plastics, run at different temperatures, and they act differently. And so he spent 3 years saying, well, marketing will never allow us to go to one tray color. So my boss and I worked for the materials manager. We went to the marketing manager, and I told him I could save him $150,000 if we went to one tray color. And I said, I recommend white. And he said, well, I like Merck blue. And I said, well, make it purple and pink polka dots, just make it one color. So we wound up getting Merck blue, and what that did was it goes back to how much savings in the process. We never had to change plastic. We ran the same color for all of our products. It saved between standardized vial size and the trays. It saved us 96 changeovers a year, which was pretty substantial. But what I did is the guy who was in opposition, I let him write the memo and take credit for doing the job because when production won, I won. So I didn't care who got the credit. And I think that's a lot of times what you have to do. In the school board, it's not so much who gets the credit, but is the best decision being made.
Very good, thank you. So last question, like the rest of them, is there anything that would disqualify you from serving on the board or take the oath?
Well, if my daughter hadn't 21 years ago hadn't invested my IRA in trash, which went to trash, if she'd invested it to a Microsoft or Amazon, I would say that my wealth would disqualify me. So it definitely does not. So I think the answer to that is a firm no.
Okay, all right, very good. Very good. So this will end our interviews. We appreciate you gentlemen for coming, and Ms. Mendez for attending as well. Blake, thanks for making that thing all work for us. And we're ready to move into another session.
Cuff closed under section 2.2-3711 pertaining to the discussion, consideration, or interviews of prospective candidates for school board employment, assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, salary, discipline, or resignation of specific public officers, appointees, or employees of the school board.
Got a motion?
Second.
We've got a motion by Ms. Bryan, and a second by Mr. Overfeld.
Yes.
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 Yes.